Hey there guys, I just wanted to make a quick little video while working on some stuff in the background to show off how I build teams. Showing off our pre-built teams is fun. I like doing that. We're going to keep doing that, obviously. But there is definitely a good skill in learning how to build your own teams. So I want to show off my process for how to build a good team the way I do it. So I am a big Google Sheets slut, so I prefer to do everything in Google Sheets. I think that it's just good, even if you don't need it, honestly. I will force Google Sheets into my life whenever I can. Just the ability to access it on a computer at home, phone while you're out shopping, be able to edit your document, able to reference anything else that you've previously made. Beautiful. Love me some Google Sheets. We'll always shill for the software. So first, we're just going to do a very simple little Google Sheets thing called the sum formula. So this is just going to add anything that we want to put together, and we're just going to put it into this column. Because what we're going to do here is say we want an Iron Man on our team that's like 50 points, a Heimdall that's like 75 points, and then maybe a Batman that's also 50 points, right? This is going to make it so that we know what our team total is, our build total is, right? And then here we just put our team name. We are going to go down a little tour of how I made the Monster Move team, the gigantic monster team that we showed off on the channel about I think it was about a month ago at this point, it was the beginning of October. So this team is spelled not like that, monster. So this team is very, very fun, very high synergy team, and I get a lot of questions asking how I found so many high synergy pieces that work so well together. So I'm going to go through my thought process for when I was building that team, since it wasn't that long ago, and show you guys how I did that. So we're going to go to HC Realms here, and there's a bunch of different like unit collection apps, stuff that you can find online or on mobile download. I prefer HC Realms. I think it's the smoothest. I've just the one I'm the most familiar with as well. So this is what I use. So to start off with our Monster Move team, we had this Mojo from X-Men Dark Phoenix Saga. Picture of his sculpt. So he's got a couple different interesting traits that we wanted to abuse. So first, he's got this: whenever a character misses all targets with their attacks, give Mojo a board token. So if we're missing attacks, me or the opponents are missing attacks, he's getting bored. What are we doing with those board tokens? We're removing 2 of them as a free action to either place Mojo anywhere on the map or make an attack. It's got a range of 7, so that's pretty good. He also has this fun little sidestep. When an opposing character uses sidestep after resolutions, Mojo may move up to 2 squares. Pretty good for just like maneuvering on your opponent's turn. Not a whole lot of effects that let you do that. As well as Mojo can't be targeted by opposing characters 5 or more squares. This helps with our little sidestep for some movement shenanigans, as well as we want to make this board token. Now we can just rely on our opponent to miss our attacks, but the 18 defense is not super terrifying, and they're not really going to be attacking Mojo. So what we want to be doing is we want to be making attacks of our own and missing them. So we need to find something that we're okay with making lots of attacks and missing them. So that's where Green Dragon Puff comes in. These were just 2 pieces that I had that I saw a lot of synergy between, so I wanted to build around this team. So we're just going to go through these 2 build around pieces so that we know what the core of our team is looking like. So first, we've got this traded Force Blast. When Green Dragon Puff moves 1 or more times during an action, after resolution, she can use Force Blast at no cost. So when she's moving around, we're just kicking our opponents around pretty good because we can walk behind them. We have a 10 move, we're a 2x2 base, so we can get an angle on the opponent and we can kick them towards us, which is pretty good. We've also got this sidestep, and this sidestep is considered a move during an action. It's a free action, so if the sidestep is moved during an action, we can use Force Blast at no cost. So we'll double Force Blast them, so we'll kick them really far away or really far towards us. And then as a free action, you can destroy an adjacent piece of blocking terrain, generate a light object, make a ranged object attack. She may do this twice per turn. So this ranged object attack is an attack for Mojo. So if we are standing next to 2 pieces of blocking terrain, because we can do this twice per turn, then we pick up a building, throw it at an opponent. We only have a 10 attack, so if it hits, it does 2 damage. That's fine. If it misses, Mojo gets bored. Then we can throw another building, 10 attack again. If it misses, that's fine. Mojo gets bored. Now he has 2 tokens. Now we can start blasting. I find the amount of synergy between these 2 pieces to be very, very high. Between the Force Blast kicking people around to either outplay their maneuvering around Mojo, or to push them into Mojo's range, or to push them into the rest of our team's range, as well as the 2 building attacks to fuel Mojo's being bored. After about turn 1, Mojo is never not bored, right? He always has his board tokens. He always has a million up. He can't remove them fast enough, right? So this was what I wanted to build around. So we go back to our thing. We put Mojo 75 and Green Dragon Puff 75, right? And if we want to be a little more granular about this, we could put that this is the Mojo from X-Men Dark Phoenix Saga. Mojo from X-Men Dark Phoenix Saga, and this Green Dragon Puff is also from X-Men Dark Phoenix Saga, right? Just because there's a couple different Mojos. There's only one Green Dragon Puff, but there's a couple different Mojos. So we just want to know which one we're looking for if we're trying to buy this team, or if we're trying to look through our collection that for whatever reason has a bunch of Mojos. So back to here, we want to figure out how to expand on this team, right? So what are we doing really well so far? So first, we are making lots of attacks with Green Dragon Puff, and even if we miss those attacks, we are still getting benefits on them from Mojo. So we want to be finding more pieces that make lots of attacks. So here we have the advanced search feature in HG Realms, this little button right here. So this lets you search by almost any criteria you can think of in the game. You can search by sculptor, you can search by anything, basically. So the main things that I always use are this keyword. So we notice that Green Dragon Puff is a animal and a monster, and Mojo is a celebrity, Mojoverse, monster, mystical, ruler. So they both are monsters. So this is going to be a monster themed team. I highly prioritize theme teams and building for theme teams, especially for 300-point teams, which is what we're going to be building today, because of the extra probability control. On 400-point teams, you can put some more just high-value pieces or more random probability control pieces to kind of make up for the lack of theme team, but I prefer to build 300-point theme teams because that's what most events are. So for our advanced search back here, we're going to go to keywords, and these are alphabetized to make it a little easier to find the one that you're looking for if you know what you're looking for. And we know that we are looking for monster. So our keyword here is monster, and then we are building a 300-point team, and we only have 150 points to spend because we bought 150 already, right? Half of 300. So I find that the is equal to is less than is in range then to be a little glitchy on HTML, so I always do in range up, even if my bottom is 0 to 150. And then normally it will group these by set release, but I prefer to group them by point cost because that's what I care about. And if you click it on ascending, it'll show the lowest point ones at the top, so you don't have to scroll down. So we're going to look at our monsters, and then we're just going to look through every single one, right? We're not going to look through actually every single one of these because realistically we're probably not going to look at the 150 point ones because we want kind of more than 3 guys. This is what we're going to look at. So we've got this first Moloid, kind of sucks. This Moloid still sucks. These are old pieces. This Moloid still sucks. It's just a rank experience veteran version of this Moloids, right? This Moloid, not bad. Not bad here. So he's got the Empower, so he can be carried around by our giants, and he's a tiny, so our guys can do better melee attacks. But again, Mojo kind of wants to be in the back. Green Dragon Puff is making ranged attacks, so maybe it's not the best energy, but we'll put him down. So just to put him down, we go Moloid down here. I put a little gap just to show that I'm not guaranteed with them on the team yet. I'm just thinking about it, right? We put the Moloid there. And since it's only 10 points, if we need to, we can use this guy as a point filler. So if they were like 30 points short and there's no good 30-point monsters, there is, but say there isn't, we could just fill him in with a bunch of stuff. Next up, we've got Mick. He's kind of like the little sidekick stuff from the Fantastic Four. He's not great on his own. He kind of needs the sidekick support stuff, and we're not running that. So Carnage, decent Colossal Retaliator. Not awful. Don't hate him. Don't really like him. This Proteus is a pretty good Colossal Retaliator, so we'll write that down. Proteus. There's a couple different Proteuses. We're going to call this one the Green Proteus, because it's the Green Proteus. Then Gigantoid Namor, again, a Colossal Retaliator, one that I'm not super fond of, but this mindless one is from Avengers Forever, so we're not going to even look at that because it's not out yet. Tong she's another sidekick thing. She's got the meh abilities, but she gets this this buff if you have Mick, Core, and Turg, and Tong, so that's a lot. I don't really want to commit to all that, I'm not going to lie. This Moloid kind of sucks. The Zombie kind of sucks. This Wendigo, however, not bad, right? If you're familiar with Wendigo, if you've seen any of our videos recently, you know that Wendigo's kind of a crazy piece, and notably, he fits in with the theme of our team, right? He makes lots of attacks with his Charge Flurry. He's got Charge Flurry, and then whenever Wendigo ends his movement after resolutions, he may make a close attack, but only target a character with a wounded token. And whenever an opposing character takes damage from an attack, you give that character a wounded token. So we're already making a lot of attacks. So now if we're missing, we're getting Mojo bored, and if we're hitting, we're making them wounded, which is going to buff Wendigo. Also, one of the other weaknesses of Wendigo is that his charge range is only 4 squares away. Well, we're gonna click into our little team so we can come back to him pretty easily. Mojo has Perplex, so we can up that. And Green Dragon Puff, with her double Force Blasting, we run behind them, we Force Blast them, we sidestep at them, we Force Blast them, is going to kick them 6 squares towards us. So between kicking them 6 squares towards us, perplexing this up to a 5 move, and his Colossal Reach being another 2, we can reach somebody 12 squares away with this Charge Flurry. And they're making 2 attacks, and then if we hit one of them, we've ended our movement, so after resolutions, we can hit them because now they're wounded. We can hit them again, make another attack. Mojo's getting bored. Mojo can take a shot in case we didn't hit them with these. Then he can sidestep. We can make more attacks. This looks pretty good. So we're going to add Wendigo to the team. Wendigo has got a lot of sauce with this team. So still looking. We've got this Brood. Not great. We've got this Colossal Retaliator Groot. This Groot is really good. Put him down. Groot, we'll put Colossal Retal Groot. Now, notably, we're only allowed 1 Colossal Retaliator on the team. So we've got to find something that really works with the team. This Witch looks kind of bad. This Minotaur, kind of bad. Use a sidekick thing. This Proteus, another Colossal Retaliator. But, if we look here, once per turn, Proteus can use Barrier as free, but only to generate 2 markers. But that's all we need. Because remember, one of the weaknesses of Green Dragon Puff is that if we don't have blocking terrain, if we lose map roll, and our opponent sees Green Dragon Puff and they take us to a map with no blocking terrain, then a lot of our combo gets shut down. So this Proteus, while also being a Colossal Retaliator, pretty good, this Colossal Retaliator here, can help us with the blocking terrain problem, because he can just make some. It's only 2 markers, but that's all we need, because we're only throwing 2. So this Proteus, I think, goes on the team. Proteus. Orange. 20.1. And now, since we have that Colossal Retaliator, I personally don't like running multiple Colossal Retaliators on the team because they turn themselves off. So we're going to delete those 2, and we're going to move the Moloid down here since we've got a lot of pieces kind of bunching us up. So also looking at this Proteus, though, we can see his Colossal Retaliator. If no friendly character has been placed this turn, choose an opposing character that attack Proteus or damage a friendly character since your last turn. Place Proteus so that he can make a close attack targeting the chosen character, then do so. A hit character gets 2 fear tokens. Even if this power is lost, characters with fear tokens must roll a d6 when making an attack, negatively modify their attack roll by half the result, then remove 1 fear token. So when he flies in and Colossal Retaliator somebody, he makes them harder to hit our other guys. And notably, Mojo has an 18 defense, which drops pretty quickly to a 16. Green Dragon Puff has an 18, which again drops pretty quickly to a 16. Wendigo here has a 17. So it's pretty easy for our opponents to hit us. But if they have a -1, 2, or 3, that gets a lot harder. Just a single perplex is a +1. We know how impactful that is. Imagine if your opponent rolls a 5 or a 6, 1/3 of the time they're just not hitting you. They just can't hit you with a 3 or 3. It's crazy hard. They can, but it's stupid hard, right? So I think Proteus definitely goes on the team. Then we've got 185 points. So keep in mind, as we're adding these guys, these are the low point guys. Now, luckily, monsters have a lot of support, so maybe whatever theme you're building might not have as many pieces for this, but these are some low point guys. But we do need to keep in mind our team point value is going up. So then we just keep looking. Valor, the Morlocks. I don't really like looking at the odd point pieces. If they're not an even multiple of 5, that means they're from old Clix, and that means that they're probably almost certainly bad. So generally, I will skip over them. We've got Zumembe, nothing great. Mindful One, not out yet. Dinosaur, not really speaking to me. Nothing crazy valuable here that I'm seeing for 25 points. Core, nothing nuts. Asgardian Troll, pretty bad. The Trench, pretty bad. Bizarro. Bizarro's funny, but he's only 25 points and we only play him for 1 time. And then he just dies instantly. I don't like it. Not for this team. Bizarro is kind of a build around on his own because he has ways to heal up, but we're not going to be playing that on this team. Surtur's another Colossal Retaliator. We already have one of those. Ymir, another Colossal Retaliator. We already have one of those. Skeleton, not great. Vampire, not great. Zombie Shambler, not great. So you kind of have to just kind of click through all this stuff and figure out what you're going to play. So if we skip through that process, because I've already done this, there's a couple different figures that jump out to me. So one, we've got this Venom Magneto, right? If you're aware of Venom Magneto, you know how broken he is. This figure is crazy broken. But the main reason that he is run is this telekinesis free. You can't telekinesis 2x2s. And so far, every figure on our team is a 2x2. Green Dragon Puff, 2x2. Mojo, 2x2. Wendigo, 2x2. Proteus, 2x2. So Venom Magneto actually doesn't work well on this team. He doesn't have any targets for his telekinesis stuff. He has his leadership, sure. But that's not why you run Magneto. You run him to carry everybody around, and you can't carry giants. And to telekinesis everybody around, and you can't telekinesis giants. So it's actually, I kind of like, not going to lie, not having to run this expensive-ass piece on this team. But we'll keep looking for other stuff, just in case. You got to think about minor rulings questions like that when you're doing this kind of stuff. Then we look at this Mole Man. Okay. So we just said that Venom Magneto kind of sucks because he can't carry everybody. And this says Passenger 6, but only to carry characters with a monster keyword, regardless of size. So he can carry 2x2s. That's big. Okay. So, this Mole Man, just on the mobility alone, is probably worth it. But then also, he's got Outwit, which is nice, because our team doesn't have that yet. We have Perplex, but we don't have Outwit. We're using our probability controls from our theme team, but also we're making enough attacks on this team that our probability controls aren't mandatory, but they're nice. They're useful for making urgent attacks, we'll call them. Then also, Mole Man has a range of 6 and 2 targets. He has Incapacitate, and when Mole Man uses it, after resolutions, you deal 1 penetrating damage to each hit character that was given an action token. So, he only has a 9 attack, so it's okay if we're missing. But if we're hitting, we're dealing with a penetrating damage, which is nice. Now, notably, this is not damage from the attack, so this is not synergized super well with our Wendigo, but the ability to carry 6 and with that Outwit, very, very good. Like this guy a lot. We'll add him to the team. He's only 40 points because of his legacy card, so we'll grab Mole Man, 40 points. And you can see We're at 222, so we're getting pretty close. So we only have 75 points more to work with. So we can either go to scroll down here, scroll past all the bullshit, to one of the 75 point guys. We can slab one of these guys on the team, or we can keep going with our small guys. What I decided for this team was that I highly valued having a high map roll, so I wanted more figures on my team, so I stayed in the smaller point section. So the next one on our list here is this mole man right now. So this mole man, Underground Empire, this mole man really brings the whole team together. So he's got stealth, pretty good. Phasing teleport, not bad, good movement, especially with the Underworld keyword. He can carry anybody. He can't carry the giants, but he can carry our small guy. He can carry our other mole man, which is good. When Mole Man uses phasing teleport, you generate a hindering marker, and this is where he began, and ends his movement in, which fuels his stealth, so he's pretty defensive. He's got leadership, which is good, because we're going to be running a lot of figures, so we want to have a leadership. That's important to have. If you're only running like 4 characters, you don't necessarily need leadership, but as soon as you get more than 4 characters on a 300-point team, I think leadership is mandatory, so we found our leadership piece. That's good. Also, he says other friendly characters with the monster keyword have improved movement hindering, which doesn't really do anything anymore. This is kind of an old rule, and free move 1 square. This is what breaks this piece in half with this team. Because now, Green Dragon Puff, as a free action, is going to move 1 square, get a free Force Blast. So now she can Force Blast 3 times. Wendigo, after he moves, is going to be able to, after resolutions, he can make a close attack, but only target a character with the wounded token. He can make his charge, flurry, 2 attacks there. He's ended his movement, he's next to somebody, wounded, 3 attacks there. Sidestep at somebody, they're still wounded, 4 attacks there. Free monster move at somebody, 5th attack there. Crazy amount of attacks on this character with this Mole Man. So I really like this Mole Man. We'll add him to the sheet. We got Mole Man, 50 points. Now, there's not a whole lot of Mole Man. If you're able to differentiate the 40 point and the 50 point one, sure. But if you want, you can put this Legacy card. And this one is the Fantastic Four limited edition. So we'll just put F4. So we know what we're looking for. Okay, so at this point, this Moloid might be run on this team. He's a nice pair with the Wendigo, but most of our attacks are going to be from this range. We've got this Mole Man. The previous Mole Man has Incapacitate, which one doesn't do any damage. This does this weird penetrating damage, but it's Incapacitate. It's not going to do any damage. It's a range attack, right? This is a melee, but he teleports. We can't really carry the Moloid. We can move the Moloid into position, but the Moloid doesn't have much movement, so I don't really like that. Wendigo could carry the Moloid. That's not bad. Mojo's making range attacks. Green Dragon Puff's making range attack. We're just running 1 Moloid for Wendigo. I'm not sure how I feel about that. And if we are running that Moloid, notably, if we put the Moloid on this team, we can see we only have 15 points to work with. And out of our 15-point pieces, it's a Colossal Retaliator, a piece that doesn't come out yet, a bad piece, a bad piece, a bad piece, a piece we're already running, and a bad piece. So you could run Moloid and another Wendigo, but then one of your Moloids is pairing with one of your Wendigos, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, personally. So I ended up cutting the Moloid from this team when I was looking at it the first time. So that means that we've got 25 points to work with. Well, what are we looking at the 25 point? I saw this core. One, I like to have an even 300, and realistically, core is the best piece here. Actually, this Commissioner is the best piece here, but he's like $200, so I don't really count the super expensive ones, honestly. This is about building a team that is financially viable, we'll call it. So this core has a sidekick tag, which we're not a big fan of, but core starts the game with a Turg token. You can use a free action to remove a Turg token to generate a Turg bystander. Now, what does Turg do? Now, unfortunately, we can't see Turg here, but we can see what set this figure's from. It's FFF. So if we scrolled over here on this thing, we'll see we're figure 38. We go to FFF. We scroll down to figure 38, and just under figure 38, we see Turg. So Turg says, as a free action, if Turg wasn't generated this turn and is adjacent to core, which is the guy who summoned him, you can remove from the map and give core his Turg token. So he can summon Turg multiple times throughout the game. Turg also has hypersonic speed. When Turg uses it, he has improved movement characters. After resolutions, deal 1 damage to an opposing character he moved through during the action. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Especially since we've got all these free attacks. We've got Green Dragon Puff. We'll take an action to move around, but then we'll blow everything up. Mojo might take an action to reposition himself, but he's just going to make attacks for free, right? Wendigo is going to take 1 action to fly all over the place, right? Proteus is going to be free Colossal Retaliating. And the mole men are just going to be kind of being carried around as utility pieces, oftentimes. They can make attacks on their own if they want to, but we've also got leadership. So Green Dragon Puff's going to be one action. Mojo's going to be potentially a second action. Wendigo, we're definitely putting an action to, but also he only has one click of life, and opponents who know Wendigo will kill him instantly. So realistically, he's going to have like one action for the first turn of the game, and then get murdered into the sun. So it's like 2.5, and if we count Mojo as half of an action, since he's free teleporting all over the place and free attacking all the time, maybe 2 actions in this turn. Proteus is a free action. One of these mole men is probably going to get carried, and the other one, it might do its free incapacitate if it gets carried, or its outwit. These guys are not great attackers. So we only really have like 2, maybe 3 action tokens that we're dedicating to something. Core summons Turg as free, and if we carry Core around to reposition him with our giants, then Turg takes up our 3rd action token. And then if we still have Wendigo on the board, that's our 4th action token, but we have leadership, so we're good. If we want to make a normal incapacitate, and as well as an incapacitate is free to super tie up a character, we can do that too. So even though we have this many figures on our team, because of the way that this team works, we have a bunch of free actions. So we actually, this Turg piece is pretty important for making sure that we have the max amount of value out of our actions in each turn. We're getting the most out of our costed actions. Also, this hypersonic speed is not considered an attack. So we can use this to get through mystic pieces, which tear this team up. Are you kidding me? You're attacking me 15 times for 2 damage each? I have a mystic piece. You're going to kill yourself. This is not a damage from an attack. Now, this has a little bit of anti-synergy with our team, with Mojo and Wendigo, but it shores up a weakness of the team, where if we can only deal damage by attacking, there are certain pieces that we just cannot deal damage to, right? Now, notably, this is not penetrating damage, but we got that covered by this mole man. Sorry, this mole man. This mole man can deal penetrating damage. And this is also not damage from an attack, it's damage from his ability. So this still gets around the Mystics problem. So I really, really, really like this core as this finisher piece to kind of round out the team, right? So we started with the core of Green Dragon Puff and Mojo. We wanted to be making a bunch of attacks and moving all around the board. We found this Wendigo, who makes a bunch of attacks and moves around the board and blows up our opponents for it. We found this Mole Man, which allows our characters to do free moves, which increases the ceiling on Wendigo, who has free actions after he moves, and Green Dragon Puff, who has free actions after she moves, right? Pretty good there. This Mole Man to get all of our figures into positions. They don't have great movement. None of them really have movement attacks. This is sidestep. This is sidestep, right? This is charge. That's fine. This is a cost retaliator that's free. We don't really have a bunch of movement attacks, so we need to get somebody in. We need to have a way to get our team into the battle, as well as having an outwit is pretty nice. So this Mole Man ties up that piece. Having a Colossal Retaliator I think is pretty good, just in general, as well if you can get the piece for cheap, and this Proteus is like, I think it's like 10-15 bucks. It's not very expensive at all. As well as shoring up our Green Dragon Puff's weakness in case we lose map roll, because even with this many figures on your team, you'll lose map roll. It'll happen. If we don't have blocking terrain, Green Dragon Puff falls apart, and then Mojo loses a bunch of his utility. So we want to be able to shore that up with this Proteus that can make blocking terrain. So Green Dragon Puff is never dead, never not able to throw buildings. We throw buildings every single turn. And then this core to shore up any weaknesses of our team, figures that are hard to hit, figures with super senses, figures with shape change, stuff like that. Turg can just fly through them. The Turg token can just fly through them, deal 1 damage, and move on with our day. We don't have to deal with a rollout. We don't have to deal with a Mystics. We don't have to deal with annoying shenanigans that way. And if they do have semi-annoying shenanigans or big reducers, this Mole Man can do penetrating damage. All in all, I think that this team came together swimmingly. Now we got to update our spreadsheet because we have put in it's core, no G, core for 25 points from FFF, and this is our monster move team. Now to make it look a little prettier, I like to put some like lines and stuff through it, but you don't need to do this. And then since our team is done, I like to just for quick reference put how many characters are on this team so that we know if it's a theme team, so that we know what our bonus to map roll is. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll just go back up here, but plus 7, right? So, and this is what I like to do, and then you can click right here to shrink that up and make that fit, make it all look nice and pretty. So, this is our first team that we've built today. This is our monster move team that I've built previously, so this took a little less time than actually digging through all of these options on HC Realms or whatever unit searcher of your choice. And this is a very well-rounded team. I've had much success with this team since playing it. That is my process for building Heroclix teams. This is what I do for all of my Heroclix teams, all the teams that me and Jordan build together. This is our process. Pull up the Google Sheets. We have a big-ass Google Sheets with all of our teams on it. Very, very useful for tracking those things over time. If you found this video useful, please share it with your friends. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. We'll have many more content like this to come. And we've got an exciting new series starting next week on Saturday. Stay tuned. Keep your eyes here for that. And with that, we'll see you guys later.